Welcome to History in 10 Minutes. In the 1800s, London was not the richest city in the world. It was the most dangerous. Not because of war, but because it was becoming something humanity had never seen before. London did not become modern by choice. It was forced there, by speed, by pressure, by people arriving faster than the city could survive. In the 1800s, London didn't just grow, it fractured, struggled, and transformed. This is the story of the city that learned, painfully, how the modern world would live. At the dawn of the 19th century, London was already vast, restless, and overflowing. More than 1 million people were crammed into a city never designed to hold them. Narrow streets twisted between leaning buildings. Rooms stayed damp, airless, and dark, even at midday. But this was only the beginning. Along the River Thames, factories began to rise. Their chimneys marked a new rhythm for the city. Steam engines replaced human muscle. Time itself became mechanical. Across the countryside, villages slowly emptied. Families left behind fields and quiet lives, drawn by the promise of work and survival. They arrived in London faster than the city could absorb them. London was no longer expanding step by step. It was surging forward, uncontrolled, relentless, and no one yet understood what this speed would cost. Coal smoke settled over London like a permanent ceiling. By morning, it clung to windows, skin, and lungs. By night, it turned gaslight into a dim, trembling glow. Inside the factories, machines never rested. Gears turned, belts spun, pistons slammed in endless rhythm. The sound followed workers home, echoing in their sleep. Work was not measured in comfort or safety. It was measured in output. Hours stretched from dawn to darkness. Men worked until their bodies failed. Women worked until exhaustion became normal. Children worked because small hands fit easily between moving parts. Injuries were common. Illness spread quickly. If someone collapsed, another worker took their place. London became the beating heart of the Industrial Revolution. Its factories produced cloth, iron, tools, and power at a scale never seen before. The city grew rich. The empire grew stronger. But engines do not run on ambition alone. They require fuel. The fuel was human effort, burned daily, quietly, without ceremony. Bones wore down, lungs filled with dust. Lives shortened, productivity soared, and with it came profit and progress. But so did accidents, disease, and relentless fatigue. There were no safety standards, no real protections, only survival. Progress promised a better future. But in the early 1800s, that future was unevenly distributed. London was building the modern world, and it was doing so by consuming itself, one working day at a time. London grew faster than it could understand itself. Houses multiplied, streets narrowed, people pressed closer together. But beneath the noise and movement, something far more dangerous was building. The city had no modern plan for waste. Sewage spilled from overcrowded homes into open drains. Those drains flowed into the River Thames, and the Thames was everything. It carried goods, it carried people, and it carried the water London drank every day. What entered the river never truly left it. In the heat of summer, the smell became unbearable. The river turned thick and sluggish. Its surface darkened. Its banks reeked of rot. Then the sickness arrived. Cholera moved through neighborhoods with terrifying speed. One day, a family was healthy. Days later, they were gone. Whole streets fell silent. Thousands died in waves, each outbreak worse than the last. Death showed no patience and no mercy. People searched for explanations. They blamed the air, the stench, the fog that hung low over the city. They called it miasma, poisonous vapors drifting through the streets. So they burned incense. They closed windows. They fled when they could. But none of it worked. The truth was invisible. The water itself was killing them. London was drinking its own waste, unaware of the connection. The city was poisoning itself from within, not suddenly, not dramatically, but relentlessly. This was not a disaster caused by invasion or fire. It was the slow consequence of growth without understanding. London had become too large, too dense, too complex for old habits to survive. And until the city learned this lesson, it would continue to suffer, quietly, repeatedly, and at great human cost. London was never a single unified city. In the 1800s, it was a collection of worlds pressed tightly together. In the West End, wealth announced itself without apology. Gas lamps lined wide streets, casting steady light onto clean pavements. Grand townhouses stood in quiet rows, their windows glowing softly at night. Carriages moved smoothly, wheels barely touching mud. Life here was ordered, predictable, and protected. Just a short walk away, a different London began. In the East End, families crowded into single rooms. Entire lives unfolded within a few dark walls. Beds were shared. Privacy was a luxury few could afford. Streets were narrow and loud. Children played where refuse collected. Work was uncertain. Hunger was familiar. Poverty did not hide itself here. It shaped faces. It bent backs. It shortened lives. The distance between these two Londons could be crossed in minutes, but the gap between them was vast. It was not measured in geography. It was measured in opportunity, who had choices and who did not, who could plan for tomorrow and who lived only for the next meal. They breathed the same air. They walked the same city. Yet invisible boundaries kept them apart. London's divisions were not accidental. They were the result of systems, habits, and assumptions built into the city itself. In the 1800s, London learned a hard truth. A city can grow together in space while drifting further apart in life. By the middle of the 19th century, London could no longer ignore the consequences of its own growth. The city had reached a breaking point. In the summer of 1858, the River Thames became unbearable. Heat intensified the smell of sewage until it spread across the city. The stench entered government buildings, offices, and homes. Even the Houses of Parliament were overwhelmed. This moment became known as the Great Stink. For years, London's problems had been visible to its poorest residents. Now, they were impossible for its leaders to escape. Action followed necessity. Engineers redesigned the city beneath its streets. Modern sewer systems were constructed, redirecting waste away from drinking water. Disease began to lose its grip. Public health was no longer treated as a private matter. It became a shared responsibility enforced by planning, regulation, and investment. Street lighting expanded, pushing back darkness and disorder. Police forces grew more organized, bringing structure to rapidly expanding neighborhoods. Transportation networks improved, connecting distant districts and easing movement across the city. These changes were not acts of generosity. They were acts of survival. London learned its lesson the hard way. A modern city could not rely on old habits. Scale demanded systems. Growth demanded foresight. By confronting its failures, London began to reinvent itself, not as a perfect city, but as a functional one. And in doing so, it laid the foundations for the modern urban world that followed. By the end of the 1800s, London had become more than a place on a map. It had become a model the world could not ignore. Crowded and unequal. Innovative and powerful. Filled with contradiction, yet driven by momentum. London showed what happened when human ambition outpaced tradition. It revealed both the promise and the cost of modern life. Cities across the world watched closely. Some copied its systems. Others repeated its mistakes. The streets, the smoke, the struggle, all became familiar patterns in cities that came after. London did not simply adapt to the modern age. It helped define it. The choices made along the Thames echoed far beyond Britain. They shaped how cities would grow, govern, and survive. In the 1800s, London became a warning and a lesson at the same time. And once that lesson was learned, the modern world had no choice but to follow.